Hello guys, before I say anything, let me show you something. Yes, that is my full stack nano degree certificate with ALX from Udacity. Now the reason why I showed you this, be sake of, I won't make you hear what I get talk. If you did ALX, I won't make me talk something. You then me not say this ALX journey be only for hard guys. If you no be hard guy or hard girl, make you no try. Frustration go kill you. It is only ALX that can start you from hello world and jump you straight to nested loops. Why? Maybe Mr. Fred, he come to talk say we for do hard things.
Do hard things.
But the fact that we for do hard things don't mean say for try to kill us. It is clear that you need tools to survive this road. And that is why I have made this video for you today. I want to show you 5 powerful secrets of Chatgpt you go fit take survive this ALX road. Now, if you don't watch this video in full, when you make ALX kick you out, make you no blame you. But make I give disclaimer. This does not mean that Chatgpt has come to replace or substitute your learning journey. It is only supposed to serve as an aid for your learning. Come with me, make I show you something.
Okay, guys, so mistake number 1, going straight to the ALX resources. Now, if you are doing this, you are making a very big mistake. Let me show you why. I'm just gonna go straight into my internet. Okay, now, for every project that we are given, we have resources that are attached to them that you can research and then understand the concepts of the project. Now, if you go to the project and the first thing you do is to try and go through these resources, you are making a very big mistake. Why am I saying this? Now, for instance, this is one of the projects on Shell, right? Shell Basics. And as usual, you have resources attached to them. Now, the reason why you should not go first to the resources is that sometimes you go to a resource and it has so much information that you don't know where to start from. Now, for instance, in this project on Shell, let me go to reading man pages. Let's just try and find out what does it mean to read man pages. And then you open this page and it has all this wonderful information. I'm still scrolling. Wow. So for instance, I've been given a project and Shell. I'm trying to understand the project, and then I open one of the resources that are attached to it, and it takes me to a page that has so much information that I do not know where to start from. Now, I'm not saying that these resources are not important. Eventually, you would have to come back to them, and I always come back to them. But as a beginner, if you throw this at me, you're just throwing me into a sea of confusion, and you may end up discouraging me. Now, another reason why your first resort should not be these resources you are giving is that for some other projects, you go to the resources and there's nothing there at all. For instance, this project on bit manipulation, one of our projects in C, you come to the resources and all you have here is Google and YouTube. Now, I click on this and it brings me to a page which is a Google homepage. So what ALX is trying to tell you is that research on your own and come up with the information to understand this project. Sometimes, honestly, you really don't know where to start from. Now, I come back to my internet and I click on YouTube, and the link takes me to a YouTube homepage about the concept. And there are so many videos here that you literally do not know where to choose from. Now, one other reason why these resources should not be your first resort again is that sometimes you visit one of the resources and it contains outmoded information. Why do I say so? For instance, with this See Hello World project, now you go to the resources and let me just click on this YouTube video. Okay, I click on it and it brings me to this guy. Now, hear me out well. Do not get me wrong. I am not saying that the concepts that were taught in this video are not relevant. No, That is not what I'm saying. I'm speaking from the perspective of an absolute beginner. You are now trying to learn C, and then you open a resource and it brings you to this guy. And subjectively, honestly, I think this is not the best video if you're an absolute beginner for learning C. For an absolute beginner, I wouldn't recommend this video for you. When you have already started out and you are beginning to understand and grasp the concepts, then you can come to this guy and he's a wonderful teacher. But for a beginner, you don't want to do this. Now watch something here. This video was released 10 years ago. Are you trying to tell me that a decade after this video was released, better videos and better resources have not been released on YouTube to make you understand this concept better? I'm telling you, even my own video that I'm about to release on C explains and breaks down the concept better than this one. So what you want to do is to first understand the concepts, and then when you are done, before you come back to resources. So how does Chatgpt help you? When you go into the projects, do not go straight into these resources. If you do that, you are about to throw yourself into a sea of confusion. The first thing you want to do is to come to the learning objectives. Okay, now usually ALX will say that at the end of this project, you are expected to be able to explain to everyone without the help of Google. Then they are going to say a couple of things. General. What does RTFM mean? Now, what you want to do is that you are going to copy these learning objectives one after the other and give them to Chatgpt to explain it for you. So, let's see. What does RTFM mean? I'm going to copy that and then I'll give it to Chatgpt. And then I enter. Now, watch this. I love this. So, with just one prompt, Chatgpt gives me a generic explanation of what RTFM means, and it stands for read the F manual. It is often used as a blunt and sarcastic response to a question or request for help that could easily be answered by reading the documentation or user manual. So now, instead of going through Google, YouTube, and a whole lot of resources, Chatgpt brings the answer straight to you, and you don't have to waste a lot of time because there is a lot to do. You don't have to waste a lot of time trying to understand simple concepts. I'm going to do a few more and then you see how powerful this thing really is. What is a shebang? I'm going to copy that and I'll give it to Chatgpt and look at what she tells me. In computing, a shebang, also known as a hashbang, pound bang, or hash exclamation, is a sequence of character at the beginning of a script or program file that tells the operating system which interpreter should be used to execute the code in the file. With just one prompt, you have so much information. And now the interesting thing is that you can ask Chatgpt further questions. You can give it further prompts to go deeper into the subject. Now, for instance, let me ask Chatgpt to write a shebang for a bash shell because in ALX, we use the bash shell. So, now guys, does this look familiar to you? Hashtag exclamation bin bash. I'm sure a lot of you by now have memorized this in your head. Now with just two prompts, I'm at the exact information that I need, and I did not have to go to too much information overload, insufficient information, or outmoded information. Let's try one more of the resource and you see how great this thing really is. So it says, what is a shell? You can copy all these and give these as prompts to Chatgpt to explain it to you. This is the first thing you want to do before you start your project. Let me copy this one. What do the commands or built-in cd, pwd, and ls do? I'm going to copy it and give it to Chatgpt. Awesome. So you see, Chatgpt takes its time to explain what these commands mean. You can take your time and read it, but we don't have the time for that right now. Okay, so let's go to mistake number 2. Not using Chatgpt to help with your task. What do I mean by that? Let's go check that out. Now, we're going to try and answer one of the tags to see nested loops and more functions. Okay, so let's try out one of the tags over here. Let's try the first one. Okay, so what we are going to do is to pass these requirements to ChatGPT as prompts. Now you realize that sometimes you're trying to answer the tags and you don't even know where to start from. You don't even know where to start writing your code from. So ChatGPT now serves as a tool to help you get started with your code. And this is really effective at getting your first foot forward. Okay, so I'm going to copy the first requirements of the project. It says that write a function that checks for a digit 0 through 9. So I'm just going to take that, copy that, and paste it in ChatGPT as the first prompt. All right, and still as part of the first prompt, I'm going to take this prototype. Remember that all your files must have their prototypes in a header file main. So I'm just going to tell ChatGPT to use this as a prototype. Okay, so use this prototype, and let me put that in quotation marks so that ChatGPT knows that I'm talking about all this as a prototype. Okay, wonderful. Then I'm going to go for the third requirement that returns 1 if C is a digit. Okay, let's give that to ChatGPT as a prompt. I'm going to paste that in. So now tell ChatGPT to return 1 if C is a digit, comma. Then I'm going to go for the last requirement, return 0 otherwise. So you copy that, give it to ChatGPT. I'm going to paste it in. So return 0 when it's otherwise. We're done. So I'm going to enter. Wonderful. Now look at this. ChatGPT follows these prompts that we have given to it and then begins writing out the code. It gives us our first code that we can use for our tag. So you see we have a starter. We don't have to try and struggle, try and get it from scratch. And the good thing about ChatGPT is that it explains your code for you. So it says that in this function, we check if the character C is within the range of the ASCII codes for the digits 0 to 9, and a lot more explanation. Now, we're not done. Remember that our prototype has to be in a header file main.h. So we are going to tell ChatGPT to include our header file main.h. So I'll tell ChatGPT to include main.h as a header file in this code you just wrote. Isn't this wonderful? So as you can see, having passed that prompt to ChatGPT, it writes the code and includes the header file main.h, including std input and output.h, which is a requirement for our code to run. Okay, so now we come down here and ChatGPT goes on to tell you that in this updated code, we include main.h as a header file, just as we told it to do. We're not done. Remember that in all our C projects, it's supposed to be compliant with the Betty linter code. So if you just try and work this code and then take it to your checker, you push it to your GitHub, it's not going to check because it's not compliant with Betty. So now we're going to tell ChatGPT to write this code to be compliant with Betty. So write this code to be compliant with Betty. So let's say write this code above to be compliant with Betty. We pass it in. Awesome. So just like we asked ChatGPT to do, now it writes out this code, and this time around it is a Betty compliant code. So you want to try this out? We're just going to copy everything in here and we are going to put it in our file that we are supposed to write the code in. Then we are going to run the checker and see what happens. Great. So I'm going to VI the name of this file and then paste in my code. Great. So we have the code in here we just got from ChatGPT. Awesome. So let's push it to our GitHub and then run the checker and see what happens. We're just trying this out. Right, we just did. So let's check our code. Wonderful. So as you can see over here, all our codes check apart from check 5. And I am pretty sure that these were Betty checks. Okay, so let's go try and Betty our file to see what kind of errors we are dealing with. Okay, so I'm going to Betty the name of this file and then let's see what happens. Just like I said, just like I predicted, we can see that we have indentation errors and then space errors, which I know. So actually there's no error with the code itself. We just have to get rid of the white spaces and then also use tabs instead of spaces. Let's go try and do that and run a checker again and see what happens. So try to do that. Now let's exit VI and Betty our file again. Let me clear my screen. So I'm gonna Betty the name of my file. And as you can see, the errors have actually reduced. And what errors are we looking at here? On line 13 and 17, we have code indent to use tabs. No space before the tabs. So we are looking at space errors as well. So let's go correct that. Wonderful. So let's Betty our file one more time and see what we have. Sorry, we got the spelling of Betty wrong there. So let's correct that. And then Betty our file. What do we have? As you can see, our code is compliant to Betty. Let's clear our screen one more time. Let's git add, commit it to GitHub and push and see what happens when we run our checker. I'm gonna run my checker one more time and let's see what happens. Congratulations, all tests passed successfully. So let me just give you a little advice here. Do not let Chatgpt do your assignments for you. This is not supposed to make you lazy. It's supposed to make you effective. Make sure you understand your codes. Make sure you try your hands on them. But this is a tool that makes life easier in your learning journey. So as you're using this to help you in your journey, make sure that you understand what you are doing and you are taking advantage of the tools that are available in this generation. Okay, so let's go to mistake number 3. Trying to understand code on your own. Let's go see what I mean. Let's say you've gone for your peer learning day or you've come across a block of code in your learning journey that you do not understand. You're trying to figure it out. All you have to do, let me just go to my GitHub and pick a random code. This is one of the solutions to one of the tasks that we were given. So I'm just going to copy it as a random code and pass it to Chatgpt, and I'm going to tell it to explain this code for me. And I'll give it the code, okay? And I'll enter. Awesome. Now watch this. Chatgpt now takes the code line by line and begins to explain it. So it takes the first line, which is this, and it says that this is called a shebang line. It is used to tell the operating system which interpreter to use to execute this script. This time around, we are using Python 3. Now you see, it even explains the docstring. Now the docstring is what you use as a form of documentation when creating functions. Then there's a lot more. Then as you can see, it takes the code line by line and tells you what every piece of the code does. This is a very effective tool you can use in your learning journey to understand any block of code you come across. Let's go to mistake number 4. Not using Chatgpt to optimize your code. Now, for you to see what I mean by that, let us use the same code that we gave to Chatgpt to explain. Now, this time around, we are going to tell Chatgpt to optimize the code for us. The reason why Chatgpt is able to do all these is that it has an aspect of its programming called the codex. The codex is able to understand code and then write code. And this is a very wonderful aspect of Chatgpt that allows developers to refactor code. So, okay, let me tell Chatgpt to optimize this code for me. Awesome. So Chatgpt now tells us that we can change this block of code to this. Okay, now it actually looks like it's almost the same, but look at this asterisk over here, and then it says that using keyword arguments for the function parameters so that they can be called by name. This can make the code more readable and easier to understand. And if you don't understand this, don't worry. I'm just trying to let you see how you can optimize your code with Chatgpt, and then it explains the second block of code and what it can be changed to as well. So you can do this. Maybe you're supposed to write a code with 3 lines or 5 lines and you have a code of 7 lines. You can actually tell Chatgpt to reduce the code for you. Sometimes it might be functional, it might not be functional, but you have to play with it here and there until you get the perfect code that you're looking for. Okay, so let's go to mistake number 5. not asking ChatGPT general coding questions. Now, you might want to pay attention here because this might be your lifesaver in ALX. Now, sometimes you come across a coding concept and you really don't know what it means. You have to research. Now, this is the most important thing that you can use ChatGPT for. Let's say you made a commit and you later discovered that there was a typo in the commit. Now you want to change the commit message. You don't have to struggle. You don't have to go asking around. You can just come to ChatGPT and say, how do I amend a commit message? How do I correct a typo in a commit message? Or how do I edit a commit message? And the answer is just going to come right at you. Now, this last step is very important. Now, a lot of people are going around asking questions. It's good to ask questions. It's good to relate. But one important thing you need to incorporate into this journey is asking ChatGPT general coding questions, like the one I just said. So let's try that as a prompt to ChatGPT and let's see. How do I edit a commit message? Wonderful. So you see, in just a few brief explanations, you get to know how to edit a commit message. And this is really helpful. Okay, so let's ask more coding questions and let's see what ChatGPT gives us. Okay, so let's say, what are modules in Python? Boom. And in a few brief explanations, you know what modules are in Python. Guys, you don't want to toy with this. It is so important. Let me ask one last question and then let's see what ChatGPT gives me. What is shell? Input and output redirection. Now, for those of you in cohort 14, I think you really need this. Okay, so ChatGPT now begins to explain everything to me. Wow, look at this. Shell input and output redirection is a mechanism provided by command line shells that allows you to control where the input and output of a command comes from and goes to. Now, in just one prompt, you get concise, brief, essential information concerning the topic that you are looking for. If you are not using ChatGPT in your coding journey, then you are missing out on a lot. Take advantage of it and grow fast in this journey.
All right, guys, that is it for today. If you are new here, make sure you smash that subscription button and hit the notification bell so that when I release my weekly videos, you will not be left out. Till I see you again, happy coding.